This is probably one of my more quieter months, but let's talk about the 9 books I read in July and the 1 I DNF'd, and yeah, let's talk about them. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Katie. I am a crime and thriller girly who does occasionally branch out, and we're here to talk about July. Now, this is going out late, guys. I, in my wisdom, booked a holiday and I was away the first week of August. So have I had time? No, because I was trying to finish my last read of July in the car on the way to the holiday. So yeah, we're going to talk about the books today. This has actually been my quietest month, and before people come at me in the comments, I am fully aware that 9 books is still amazing, and I'm aware of that, but I think I sometimes set myself too high an expectation because I read 10 to 15 books a month, especially when I've got time off work, and I've had 2 weeks off in July. So I did actually slump in July. End of term gets me every time, but I slumped. I was lucky if I read a book a week, let alone and then I did pick up towards the end of the month, but even then I had Harrogate. I had such a a packed July. I won't say fully fun. The last 2 weeks have been fabulous. But yeah, so I'll stop chuntering about it. We're going to talk about the books. We're going to go through what I thought of them, what I rated them, and what they're about, just in case if a book wasn't for me, it might be for you. But yeah, let's get into it, and we'll get the boring stuff out of the way, actually. If you're new here, then it would mean the world if you would hit that subscribe button. I bring all things bookish, recommendations, wrap-ups and TBRs. And yeah, I'm going to do a separate video about my August TBR, and in that I will talk about my July TBR, because I can tell you now it did not go to plan at all. I've barely read half my TBR. So we will go through that together in another video, but yeah, it would mean the world if you could hang around. I'm on a mission to get to 400 subscribers. So yeah, let's get into these books, and yeah, I'll stop rambling at you now. So let's talk about the stats. Now, this is actually a lot more straightforward than I thought this month. I have just said I read 9 books and DNF'd 1. I actually had quite a highly rated month when I went through them. I've had predominantly 4 to 5, well, no 5 stars, 4 and 4.5 stars. There are a couple of lower ones in there, and obviously there is that DNF. I'm just looking at them now, and bar the 1 romance, I'm just checking them. Oh, so I've had predominantly all thriller. And then I've had 1, I'm not quite sure what, you'll see later on in the wrap-up. I'm not sure what genre, whether it's classed as literary fiction or not. And then I've had my YA romance, which I like to try and put 1 a month in just to get through my TBR. So yeah, predominantly all reasonably sized books as well. I think I've had a couple of 400-500 pages. But yeah, predominantly thriller, which is really bizarre. But yeah, we're going to talk in more detail about them. And yeah, it's been a very interesting month. One of those was an arc. I'm just checking I've got that right. Yeah, one of them was an arc. There were a couple of book club books in there. But yeah, I'm just going to stop rambling about the stats. If you guys want to see them, I've got all my links in my link tree. But yeah, let's get into the books, because I think that's what you're really here for, isn't it? So the first book I want to talk to you about is The Curator by M.W. Craven, and I did rate this 4 stars. Now, this was the first book I picked up of the month. This is book 3 of the Tilly and Poe series. Now, I did meet M.W. Craven in July as well, and I was saying how I was going through the series, but I've actually been reading them on Kindle when they've come on deals, and I've also been getting them out of my local library to support them. So, The Curator, I'm going to have to remind myself, guys, it's been well over a month since I read this. Oh, this was it. So basically it starts off with someone opening their Christmas present, and we follow kind of the timeline up to this. This guy's planned this massive, I think it's proposal. And he's had a mug done, and yeah, it's a bit cheesy. Anyway, she opens this present and he's like, well, that's not my wrapping paper. Anyway, she exposes a load of fingers. So then obviously Tilly and Poe come on the case. And if you haven't read this series, I strongly recommend you do, not just for the dark of the thrillerness of it, because these are quite dark thrillers. They're quite graphic. I kind of relate them a little bit to Chris Carter. But Tilly and Poe as a duo are absolutely phenomenal and completely make this series. The first book I rated 5 stars, and I was absolutely howling at that book. I laughed. I had my jaw on the floor. This one, I think the last two haven't quite had that impact on me, but nonetheless, these are dark. The jaw drops are still there. They're so easy to read. The chapters are short, and this series is just fabulous. I've got the fourth book lined up on my Kindle. Whether I get to that in August is another question, but I am just loving this series, and I'm just trying not to read them all too fast, because I've done that with Chris Carter and I've got one more to go, and then you're kind of at a whim at what to do, and there are only 8, I believe, in the series, and the 8th one releases like next week. In fact, it's this week. So yeah, and I'll have to wait for the paperback release of that as well. But anyway, that's a side point. This was so easy to read. I think because Tilly and Poe aren't as laughable in this, I kind of dropped the star a little bit, but I would still strongly recommend them. Like, just because it's a 4-star does not mean it's terrible. A 4-star is still really good for me. I still recommend 3 stars to people, 3.5-star books. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this. Definitely need to add it to your TBR. The first book is The Puppet Show, which I have now bought, and I am trying to buy the series. I did end up buying this while I was on holiday. This is the library book. However, it is slightly damaged, so I might have to buy it in a better condition, but I'm never going to pick the book up again, so I might not be too bothered. I haven't decided. But yeah, this is book 3, so definitely put The Puppet Show on your TBR, and let me know in the comments if you are reading this series, because it's one I thoroughly recommend, and I got the recommendation from another booktuber, so yeah, definitely add this one to your TBR. Next up is I Will Find You by Jessica Huntley, and I rated this 4 stars. So I read Room 21 by Jessica Huntley quite a while ago now, and I listened to that on audio, and oh my goodness, it was a 5-star read, hands down, one of the best books I'd read this year. However, this one didn't quite give me that fully, but I am also aware at this point I was slumping. Now, again, I opted for audio for this. This came as a recommendation from the lovely Chris, because he absolutely adores Jessica Huntley's work, and so I am trying to work through some of her backlist. This one, I can't for the life of me remember what it's about. I think it's set in a snowstorm. I've actually started the month out set around Christmas and winter in the middle of summer. So probably no wonder I started slumping at this point. But I was trying to listen to this while working, while being highly stressed, and I think that has been a disservice to Jessica, if I'm being honest. Still 4 stars, like, it's not a bad read, and I did really enjoy the premise of it. I think I know what it is now, sorry. You can see my brain, literally, the cogs turning as I'm talking to you. This follows a couple who are in Hunt. I think her brother passed away or something. And there is a connection I'm not going to talk to, actually, in case it's a spoiler. But basically, she is on the hunt, and they get stuck in a snowstorm. So they find the nearest house in the middle of nowhere, and it's this woman. And she sounds very much like a woman that is quite highly known in the area, but not for positive reasons. The female main character is determined to get answers, but obviously it's not going to be as easy as that. They're trapped in a snowstorm in a house with very limited food, no electricity, no heating. And yeah, it was very tense. I don't know if it's the setting that perhaps doesn't work for me, but I still really thoroughly enjoyed this. My jaw was still on the floor because there was an absolute plot twist at the end. And I would definitely still recommend it. It just wasn't as good as Room 21, but maybe I went in with too high an expectation. Next up, another audiobook pick was White Spaces by Elvin James Mensah. Now, I read Small Joys, was it last year or the year before? And I bloody loved it to the point it was a 5-star read. So I was super excited when this released. I'd seen Nick read it in one of my lives, and he really enjoyed it. I did unfortunately rate this 3.5. So as I've just said, I do still love and recommend 3.5-star books, but this just wasn't giving me the same vibes. And I don't know if I just was starting to slump at this point, that like I just wasn't bothered. So this follows a group of lads who are all kind of like in this friendship group, and I think one of them is going through some troubles and struggles, but he's not voicing it and kind of shuts himself off. Please feel free to correct me. It's been a while since I listened to this one. I started off the month ploughing through audiobooks, and then it just kind of fell off the face of the earth. But yeah, like, I did enjoy listening to this, but again, I think I picked the wrong time to listen to it, if I'm being honest. I think I listened to Small Joys on a school holiday when I could commit time to actually fully focusing on it, where again, I was listening to this while being highly stressed with a load of work to do, and it was something in my ears to keep me busy. And I think I've picked the wrong book to do that. I think I'd have been better doing a bit of a rom-com book rather than picking like thrillers and things. So I think that's more a me issue. I may potentially re-listen to it because Small Joys is one of my favourite audiobooks. I absolutely loved the premise of that. I smiled, I was so emotional, and I would strongly recommend that one. So I do want to give Elvin James Mensah another chance because, like I've said, Small Joys is one of my favourite audiobooks. And yeah, it was a change up of genre in the hope that it would help with my slump, and I think I just picked the wrong time. Still 3.5 stars, would still recommend it, especially if it's the kind of genre you look at. And yeah, if you want to see probably more info on it, Nick the Book Hoarder, I think he goes by now. If you look at their profile, you will see like probably a lot more detailed review. Next up on my subscriber book club pick is Killer Question by Janice Hallett, and I rated this 4 stars. Now, I really, really enjoyed this book. I have a love-hate relationship with Janice Hallett. I'm just going to put it down because it's hard to hold. But yeah, so this is like set in a mixed media format, as are all of Janice Hallett's books, and I've probably picked the right time to pick this up because, as I've just said, I was seriously slumping at this point. Those first 3 books were read in the first 2 weeks. Bear in mind, 2 of those were audio. I did also start another one, which I probably will go on to next because I don't want to leave the negativity till last. But yeah, so The Killer Question, anyway, it follows basically a group of, it follows 2 women primarily, and it doesn't. It follows a couple. Try again. And it's set around a quizzing format. So as I've just said, it's mixed media. So it's set in like emails, texts, general conversations. And there are the same teams that show up, and then this random team starts showing up. And absolutely defying all odds and smashing out the quizzes, which is obviously putting the people that attend every week down. This pub is pretty quiet and at risk of being shut. We then have this like dual timeline, and it basically follows them. The pub owners were previously police officers, so it follows their journey as to why they ended up being pub landlords. Now, I find Janice Hallett's books really easy to read because they're mixed media. They're a quick read. They're okay. They're nothing groundbreaking. However, I really enjoyed this one. This one was fast-paced. There was a plot twist, which I've not seen much in a Janice Hallett. They've been better. Some of them have been really good. So I am very much going with it, and I did enjoy it. This is actually, I think, her most recent release. I think the Silent Appeal releases at some point this month. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so easy to read, and I think it was just what I needed because I actually wanted to sit down and read it on a night after work, which was something that hadn't happened. Because at this point, I think I was reading this the last week of term, so we're into the 2nd or 3rd week of July at this point. So yeah, definitely recommend this one, guys, if you want something quick and easy that's a mixed media read. And yeah, the thriller aspect was actually really good, and I was quite surprised the turn that this took, and I did really enjoy it. Next up, and my most anticipated of the year, let alone the month, was One of Us is Guilty by Steve Kavanagh, and I rated this 4.5 stars. Now, this is going to come as no surprise, guys, because I love a Steve Kavanagh, but I will also be honest about his books. I have rated them lower. So this one follows a court case where basically there is this very rich and wealthy couple. The male main character is having an affair. The female main character has found out, but he doesn't know that. And then the next day, the woman on the side basically rocks up dead. And Eddie Flynn is having to represent the woman because the lawyer can't represent both. Now, one of them is guilty, is the kind of phrase we're going for here. And I really enjoyed this. I think it could have been a little shorter. That is literally my only qualm, which is why it's knocked half star. There was a lot of rich people drama in there. But for me, I get so immersed in the Eddie Flynn world, and I'm actually devastated that I'm going to have to wait 2 years for another one. So I met him in July, and he did openly say he's actually working on a standalone at the moment. So next July will be his standalone, and then the following year after that will be another Eddie Flynn. So I've got to wait 2 years for another Eddie Flynn. Now, we had a return of a character which I had completely forgotten about at one point, to be honest. But I just love the Eddie Flynn whole family thing that's going on. So Block is one of my favourite characters. I think Block is absolutely hilarious, straight to the point, and the character that Steve Kavanagh has written is absolutely fantastic. This had a very good plot twist, and I just generally thoroughly enjoyed reading this throughout. I wanted to keep picking it up. I purposely saved it until I'd finished work, but then realised I wanted to get it read, and I vlogged the whole thing, which, go and check out my account because I've vlogged the whole thing. I wanted to try and read this while I was off work, but then realised I wanted to read it before I met him in Harrogate, which meant I literally had 3 days. So I did start it, I think, the last week of term, but I didn't pick it up then for 4 days. But then I read 3/4 of it in one sitting. So it is an easy bingeable read. This is book 10 in the Eddie Flynn series though, so I would strongly recommend that you read them in order. Now, Steve has said himself you can read them as standalones, but I think if you want the character development, start from the beginning. I personally didn't. I discovered Steve Kavanagh through 13, which is book 4 in the series. But I would just say start from the beginning. The Defence is actually my least favourite, so please don't judge on the first book. But I think the character development really helps you commit to this book and like get immersed in the world. But yeah, another cracker by Steve Kavanagh, and I am genuinely devastated I have to wait another 2 years for an Eddie Flynn, but we have 12 months to wait for the next book, guys. Next up, and my only other audiobook pick of the month, was The Kingpin by A.A. Dand, and I rated this 4 stars. So this follows on from The Chemist by the same author. So this is book 2, and it follows Idris. Now, I can't go into the premise too much on this one, but this basically continues. He's ended up becoming part of like a drug cartel, or he's like created one. And he is basically trying to take over West Yorkshire. So this is set in West Yorkshire. And like I said, I listened to the audio. I didn't enjoy this as much as The Chemist. I followed the recommendation from A.A. Dand himself to actually listen to the audio, but I wasn't enamoured with it. So I said I may reread this physically. I actually met A.A. Dand twice in July because, you know, he came locally to my area at the beginning of July. So I went with a friend from work who actually was the person who discovered this author. So he said we would both go, and then I actually bumped into him in Harrogate, which wasn't on the radar. I wasn't sure if he would be around. I was missing his event because it was a Thursday. And so I said, oh, do you get a say in the audiobook? He went, oh God, yeah, I love the audiobook. I would recommend listening if you love audiobooks. So I thought, perfect, I'll do that. Now, it was still good. This has been left open for a 3rd book. And he did say he was writing the 3rd book as we speak. However, I hope it doesn't go any further than that, because I don't think you can string it any longer. Nonetheless, this got very dark very quickly, which I didn't expect because the first one wasn't dark, but this was exceptionally dark, and I did really enjoy that. It was really enjoyable to read. The chapters are reasonably length, and yeah, I don't normally buy the hardback, but I wanted to get it signed. So it is going up on my signed edition shelf up here, which is just out of shot. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It was dark. There were quite a few shocks throughout it as well. I don't know if it was the narration that knocked the star for me, maybe, which is a bit unfair on Amit, but yeah, that's how I felt about it, guys. I don't really know what else to say about it, but yeah, I definitely recommend the series. The Chemist is book 1. It's very different to what I would normally read, and I did enjoy it, and it got very, very dark, guys, so I'd be very intrigued to see what book 3 looks like. I just realised a couple of, sections back, I said I'd talk about my DNF. So the DNF, which is going to come as quite a shock, is That Night by Gillian McAllister. Now, I'm actually a lot further through than this. You're probably going to come at me saying, what was the point? I actually DNF'd that at 85%. So, hear me out. I was reading this at the beginning of July, and this is when my slump hit. So I put it down and picked up my book club book, because that was a non-negotiable for the month. This follows, basically, I think it's 3 siblings, and when one of them calls to say there's been an accident and she's knocked down this guy and she doesn't know what to do, they end up burying him. I don't know. Premise, do you know what? This started off really good. I actually read 50% of this pretty quickly, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I then put it down because I started slumping, and I thought, do you know what? I've got to get the book club book in before the end of the month, and I'm aware I've got Harrogate. I don't want to carry a hardback. So I was trying to get kind of things done at this point. Anyway, I then went back to it eventually, and I ended up switching to audio because I was running out of days before the end of the month. So I thought, do you know what? I've got a 2-hour car ride to Scarborough. I will most definitely put this on my ears. I never did. I ended up reading because we got stuck on the motorway for the majority of the way there. So yeah, but then we got to the court case of this. I should probably mention the guy they ended up burying was a copper. So obviously they were straight on it. And we then fast forward X amount of years and we're at the court case, and that's when I got bored. It's not terrible. I just think it was completely the wrong time. Will I go back to it? Maybe. 85% though, I'd have to start from the beginning because I can't even remember what the bloody hell happened. But yeah, I'm disappointed because I really enjoy Gillian McAllister's writing, and I did meet her at Harrogate, but this has kind of just taken a bit of a drop, and I don't really know kind of why, if that's just my circumstance because I slumped, or yeah, I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but nonetheless, I think the first half was really good. So if anyone's read this and would like to tell me what the other half is like without spoilers, and if I need to go back and finish it. I just think it was maybe the wrong time, and the audiobook was atrocious. I would not go back to audio. It's on my Kindle anyway, and obviously I've still got the physical, so I may give it another go, but unfortunately for this month I ran out of time. I tried to go into August listening to it and I just wasn't interested enough, so I did DNF it. Next book now, and this I started when I took to Harrogate, and then I did a readathon towards the end of the month. Why I thought to do that on the second to last day of the month is beyond me. But I picked up Genesis by Chris Carter. I did rate this 4.5 stars. So this is book, gosh, I don't even know what book we're on at this point. Book 11 or 12 of the series. And this is the Robert Hunter series, if you've been living under a rock and not been to my channel before. This follows... Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, so of course, how could I forget? This starts basically, Robert Hunter gets a call and there are quite a few green-looking police officers outside. Most of their dinners come back up, so if you're gory, I suggest you whiz about 10 seconds. Basically, they show up at the crime scene and this woman has her body hung by a fish hook, and that fish hook is hanging out of her mouth, so she's been decapitated. I can't even say it without laughing. It was disgusting. I found this his darkest, and he said so himself. And basically there is a poem that they find later on in the autopsy. And that is line 1, and then we go on to find several different lines. Obviously, it's Chris Carter, there's always more than one victim. The chapters are, as always, incredibly short. Now, I did actually start this, like I just said, in Harrogate. Well, on the train to Harrogate, so fine. But then when you're staying on your own in a hotel room, you stop reading it. So I didn't pick it up. Plus, I didn't have time for a couple of days. And then when I got back, I was straight into my Sunday sprints, and that was when I absolutely blew through it and absolutely loved it. And yeah, 4.5 stars. As always, they're fast-paced, they're grim, they're gory, and the chapters are like 2 to 3 pages. I mean, you can't complain at a chapter that short, can you? They literally are my favourite types of books. So, as I've said, bloody loved it, and yeah, definitely his darkest one. Now, I believe I only have one left, so I'm kind of putting off reading it because you guys are a little sad. There is one in the pipeline, which I think comes out next year, but we have to wait a whole year for that, guys. So I'm kind of putting it off. Plus, it'll probably come out in hardback, which means I need to wait another 6 to 8 months for that to come out. But anyway, absolutely loved this. Please read the whole series. You don't have to read them in order. They are standalones. However, again, character development is key in this. So I strongly recommend you do pick them up for the character development. Because there has been a lot of changes where I've been very emotional due to a character development within the story. You do get to love them. Both Hunter and Garcia are fabulous, work together so well. And every time Hunter says I read a lot, I just laugh. So yeah, if you haven't added this series to your TBR, The Crucifix Killer is book 1. And yeah, I'm so grateful I found this series because I was not a dark thriller girly, but I most definitely am now. Next up, and this was the book I picked for readathon and Buddy read with the lovely Amelia, and that is First and Forever by Lynn Painter. So this is a genre change, spread edge by the way. And I rated this 4.5 stars. So I read this in one sitting purely because I was online for 7 hours, and there was one other book which I'll talk about in a second that I read within this readathon. First and Forever, I believe, is YA. I don't remember there being any spice. And this basically follows a girl is on TV apologising because she kind of starts a bit of an argument with the mascot. I think she plows into him or something. And basically they then bring on the star player for said, I think it's American football team. I don't think we ever... Yeah, it's American football. And basically they end up having this banter on live, like this thing. And basically then what they have to do is he is told that he needs to basically date her for PR purposes, but she doesn't know that. So it's fake dating for him and not fake dating for her. And she's very surprised. Her dad is like, well, they're both the biggest fans of this football team, and like, why would you pick me? I found this hilarious, so easy to read. The chapters are long in Lynn Painter books, but sometimes they just don't feel like it. I just thought this was so funny, and she most definitely falls first. It is fake dating, and yeah, it's fake dating like to lovers. But yeah, this was just, I don't know what it is about Lynn Painter. I only have one Lynn Painter left to read, and yeah, I just love reading her books. There's something about them that are so lovely, and they're such a good palate cleanser for me. Like, I tend to pick them up when I've had a really solid thriller read, which, as you can see, there have been 2 books that have not been thriller this month. So out of the 10 I've picked up, I know I DNF one of those, but I read 85%. 2 of those have not been thriller this month. So I'm very much in my thriller era at the moment. So to pick up something that wasn't thriller was definitely much needed. And yeah, if you haven't read Ellen Painter, I strongly recommend. Most of them are YA. Just check first if you are worried that they're not. Because she has got a couple of adult romances out. But yeah, First and Forever, so adorable. And her books are so short, like literally 300 pages read in the space of 4 or 5 hours. And yeah, it was one of my favourites of the month. Deep breath, we've made it to the last book of the month. Why does this feel like it's been a super long video because I've yapped, when actually I've not read that many books this month compared to my usual. So the last book I picked up was Dissection of a Murder by Jo Murray with the stunning sprayed edge, and I did read this physically, though it pains my heart. And I rated it 4 stars. Now, this may come as a little bit of a shock. I have seen this all over my FYP. I picked it up purely on the hype and the sprayed edge, because that sprayed edge, everyone's going, oh God, get it on TikTok Shop, or like exclusive here. It's not exclusive. If you want to save money, go wherever it's cheapest, because the sprayed edge is everywhere. I got mine from a supermarket. But anyway, every man and his dog has rated this 5 stars. And don't get me wrong, it is a bloody good book. I do recommend it. I've rated it 4 stars. However, the first part for me was a bit slow going. And I don't think I've told you what this is about, has it? I've lost my ability to speak. So this basically follows 2 people who are fighting out a court case, and Layla is brought in to defend the accused. She's going up against her mentor, a very well-known and a very well-established lawyer, also her husband. She is determined to prove this guy innocent, and her life pretty much is on the line doing this. The plot twist in this was sensational. I will say that now. And I think a lot of people have rated it 5 stars on the sensational plot twist. Now, I don't disagree about the plot twist being sensational. I had my jaw on the floor. I was messaging the group chat because I buddy read this with the lovely Chris and a few of the gang. But for me, leading up to the court case, we didn't need all that tat. So I think that's why I've dropped a star. I just feel like there was too much build-up, which for some people works perfectly, but for others it just doesn't. And for me, I'd rather have it been a little bit shorter. And don't, because the court case, from the court case onwards, absolutely 5-star material. And can we just take a minute? This is a debut for Jo Murray. So to get a 4-star debut is absolutely fabulous. And I most definitely will pick up another book by Jo Murray. Like, this is a really well-written book. I don't want people to think I'm slating it, but I personally didn't see the 5-star hype, but that's fine. But I know for some people that's quite controversial, which... it's still 4-star, it's still bloody good, still strongly recommend it. So still think you should add this to your TBR, but depending how much of a slow burn you like as a thriller, which, judging by my current stack of books, I would probably say I'm more a dark thriller girly at the moment. That might be why it didn't quite hit the spot. But yeah, I do love a courtroom drama. I just don't need all the build-up personally. So yeah, still enjoyed it, still recommend it, but it just didn't give me the 5-star feeling. Guys, we've made it to the last one. So that is what I read in July. Now, I know I keep saying, I've had a slumpy month, but for me, 9 isn't a lot. But then I keep looking and I'm like, it is, but I don't think I've had single digits this year yet. But I'm off in the month of August and already I'm flying through books. So I think we're in for a better month. But yeah, stay tuned for the August TBR video where I talk about the non-negotiables of the month, because I'm not actually setting a TBR, and also to talk about my July TBR, whether I read it or not. And yeah, but that's a wrap on this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to see more content by me, feel free to drop suggestions in the comments, by the way, of content you want to see. I'm all open to doing that. And yeah, if you want to see more, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I will catch you all in the next video. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and have a lovely day.